Hi, I'm Mark Loftus. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Post TV. Today I'm joined by Nugen audio product specialist, Freddie Vinehill Cliff. Freddie,
Hi,
thanks for joining us.
no problem. It's nice to be here.
So normally we'd be meeting at NAB, but things are a little different this year. So we're doing it virtually here, but you guys have a number of products that are up the post-production industry's alley as far as audio plugins and stuff. I'm familiar with some of them. I know the Halo Upmix is popular.
Yep.
I know the Viz LM. What's going on? What do you have news-wise that would have been announced at the show?
So at the show, we wouldn't have had anything brand new, but what we were wanting to do was just push our Surround Suite bundle of plugins. So Surround Suite consists of 4 products. So it has Halo Upmix, the one that you already mentioned. So that's our upmixing plugin that's used for taking either stereo or maybe 5.1 audio and promoting it to higher channel counts. So that can go up, stereo to 5.1, stereo to 7.1, 5.1 to 7.1, or if you have the 3D extension, you can go up to 7.12, 5.14, 7.14, or first, second, and third order ambisonics. We also have Halo Downmix in that same bundle, and that does the same thing in reverse. So it takes a surround piece of audio and kind of mixes it down into a lower channel count. And the idea behind that is that rather than using standard down mixing algorithms, you can kind of fine tune the down mix. So maybe if you aren't entirely happy with the way that the audio has been upmixed, or you want to have a little bit of extra control over the LFE, something like that. The only limitation of Halo Downmix compared to Halo Upmix is that it can't obviously receive ambisonic audio, and I don't think it can receive 7.14 audio, but it definitely goes 7.12, 7.1, 5.1, and so on. And the 7.12, like I said, is if you have the 3D extension. The other 2 plugins in there are ISL, our True Peak limiter. So that is a limiter that works in up to 7.12 surround. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to find a limiter that works in more than stereo. So obviously that's really important, particularly if you're producing audio for broadcast. True peak limiting is, it's a lifesaver. It can be the difference between your program, getting accepted by the network or the client and it being rejected because it fails their quality control.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, we have SEQS, which is our linear phase EQ. So that at the moment, I believe, only goes up to 7.1, so 8 channels, but we are, as far as I know, working on a 7.12 version of that as well. So these are all pretty standard plugins, but designed to work with a surround workflow rather than a stereo workflow.
Mm-hmm.
The only one of those which we've updated recently is SEQS. So SEQS had an update back in January. We updated that at the end of January around the NAMM show. There are a few changes within that. SEQS now has a resizable plugin window. So that's something that we're trying to incorporate into all of our plugins eventually. At the moment, a few of them have it, and we're kind of gradually increasing that. And the idea behind that is it just means that, if you want to do some really detailed work within your DAW, you can make the plugin window enormous, so you can really kind of get in there and carve the the EQ curve in as detailed a way as you like. Or if you're the kind of person who has, I don't know, 15 plugin windows open at once. I don't know how you have enough hands to control all those, but people
Right,
do it.
right.
If you're that kind of person, then you can make it tiny and fit as many as you need on the on the screen. So that was one of the changes we made. But the really big change that we made in SEQS is we updated the match functionality. So SEQS has this match function which allows you to take 2 pieces of audio, record a sample from those pieces of audio and measure the kind of frequency profile of each of those. And then it generates an EQ curve to bridge the gap between the 2 pieces of audio, essentially to make them sound the same. So the idea is maybe if you have some dialogue that was recorded with 2 different microphones and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't sound very natural, maybe you've got 2 different takes that, these are the best takes, but they don't sound quite the same. You can use SEQS to bring those closer together. You can use it
Maybe even
Uh,
matching cameras, different sound from different cameras.
exactly, yeah. I mean, any situation where you've got two pieces of audio that need to sound as close as possible, and they've just
Mhm.
got a slightly different frequency response. So the changes that we made to that feature are that now the sample time, so the amount that you can record in order to measure that frequency profile, is up to 90 seconds. So previously, I think it was either 3 or 5 seconds, which is good enough for some applications. But if you've got a really dynamic piece of audio that's changing a lot, you might kind of need to get a detailed picture of, maybe up to a minute and a half. That's probably an extreme example, but
Right,
if you need 90 seconds, then you can now have 90 seconds.
right, right.
I think those are the main kind of major changes with SEQS.
Okay.
But
I had a chance to kind of check out your website, and I know that you guys have a number of initiatives going on too, just based on, the state of the world these days, kind of helping out your clients there. Do you want to talk about some of that stuff?
absolutely, yeah. So what we're really trying to do is just support the audio community at this time. So we're not interested in pushing sales because that's not the top of people's priorities at the moment. What we're trying to do is just offer support that people need. So for example, for any users of ours who would normally use Nugen plugins as part of their workflow, but who maybe don't have access to their licenses, maybe they're stuck in their home studio and all their licenses are on an iLock in a studio elsewhere, we're offering additional free licenses for those existing users. So I think on iLock, that's limited to like VisLM, LM Correct, Halo, and maybe one or two others. And if you're not using iLock, if you're just using challenge response licenses, then we've allowed one additional authorization of all of our challenge response licenses. So yeah, the idea behind that is just to try and make sure that anyone who normally uses our stuff still can, even if they aren't able to access wherever the licenses currently are.
Right.
And additionally, we are doing a 20% discount on everything on the store for the next 6 weeks. So that's not tied in with any specific promotion. We're not pushing any particular product. It is literally, we're just trying to acknowledge that people are probably going to be in a slightly worse off financial situation if they're stuck in the house. Maybe they aren't able to work as much as normal. But
Hmm.
if they do need to, if they do have a particular project or job that requires new plugins, then we want to make sure that we're kind of making it a little bit easier on people's wallets to do that.
Hmm.
The other thing that we're doing is we're producing a series of blogs and interviews and other features that are going on our website, just giving advice for people working from home. So we had an interview, I think it was last week. We put out an interview with a guy called Keith Alexander. He's an audio guy from Dublin in Ireland. He does a lot of work with recording voiceovers.
Hmm.
He presents a show called Adorama. No, sorry, he presents a show on Adorama called Perfecting Audio. And he did an interview with us just talking about ways that he's adapted his working practice now that he's literally kind of confined to his home studio. And hopefully, if anyone wants to read that, then they might be able to get some bits of advice, glean some useful tips and tricks.
Yeah.
I've also started a blog, with with some tips for kind of recording at home. Some of that is more geared towards the music production guys and the post production guys, but I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that still could be relevant. So we're
Well,
kind of we're going to be doing that on probably a weekly basis over the next couple of months, I think. So
cool. So you
yeah, I
you
think
guys
that's
have
just about everything.
a lot going on, trying to help out people that might be working remotely in a different setup than they had been doing just a month or so ago.
That's the idea. We want to make it as smooth as possible for people to kind of adjust to the new situation. Because, at the end of the day, people who don't necessarily work in audio or film or whatever, it's this industry that people are turning to now. People are wanting to watch whatever the new thing is on Netflix. They've got
Yeah.
a lot more time on their hands. So if we can make it as easy as possible for people that are making this stuff to keep working, then that, effectively that helps everyone really in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. So where would we direct them? How about your website? They can find out more.
Yeah, so you can find out more just by going to nugenaudio.com. I think we have like a landing page which has all the information about the support we're currently offering. I think that's nugenaudio.com/staying home, staying creative, which is maybe a little bit of a long URL. But if you go to the homepage, I think there's a button that takes you there anyway. So yeah, it's nugenaudio.com. And if you have any questions, as always, you can email our support guys, support@nugenaudio.com. And if you have a question that they can't answer, then they may end up passing you on to me or one of the development guys as well.
Great, that's helpful. I want to thank you, Freddie, for taking a little bit of time and kind of giving us an overview. We couldn't meet face to face this year in Las Vegas, but we're still
Sadly,
getting
no.
all the news and going to share it with our readers. So we appreciate your time on that.
Well, it's been a pleasure chatting. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks again.
Cheers.